Hey, good morning. It is another great day, right? It's morning somewhere, maybe not where I'm at, but I'm your host, Jeff Ski Kinsey, and this is going to be a video maybe a little longer than most, what we call long form. And I found out YouTube complains if you try to upload video over 15 minutes long. So maybe I'm a sports car. Very proud of that exhaust note. I'm recording this at Harry Cleaver Memorial Field. It's a municipal airport for the town of New Philadelphia, Ohio, which is the county seat of Tuscarawas, Ohio, Tuscarawas County, Ohio. And there's a lot of noise on this road. Apparently we don't enforce noise issues in this town. But it's interruptions, it's life, right? Life is interrupted. I think there's even a movie by that name or something to that effect. But this is going to be a long form, and I want to tackle one topic, okay? And one topic only. And that is pricing. But not just any pricing, my pricing. Okay? I'm not here to justify, I'm here to explain how I set my pricing for my goods and services. Now, as if you're watching this, many of you know me. You know I'm excited about something known as the theory of constraints. It's no longer a theory, it's a law. Okay, it's like gravity. Okay, gravity is a law. Once upon a time, it was a theory. Okay, apple falls on your head, you start thinking, what if? Okay, the late Dr. Ellie Goldratt started thinking, what if? And came up with a theory. As a physicist, that's what they do, and then you try to disprove your thesis. So this thing called theory of constraints, we have a couple suggestions and a couple rules, but we also have a logical thinking process. And so hopefully what you'll find by the end of this video is you're going to say, hey, that ski guy, I think he's onto something. I think I understand how to price my goods. Because that's ultimately what this is about. I care about pricing my goods and services. You care about pricing your goods and services. Does that make some sense? Great. So basically, after I became certified in Goldratt's process, the logical thinking process, I became what's known as a Jonah. Now that's the professor, the character in his book, The Goal, a process of ongoing improvement. Jonah is a professor that helps Alex turn around this company in just 90 days. Now, number one, if you did not know, most of Goldratt's works were in the form of a business novel, like The 1 Minute Manager, probably the most famous. But they're all based on true case studies, okay? So he turned around this company in 90 days. I do likewise. I got certified in the process. I applied it enough, took additional coursework, so to speak, and studied it and became certified, if you will, as a Jonah's Jonah, which means somebody who can create or certify other people to be Jonahs if they go through a process and they apply it and learn it and can prove that they've mastered the concepts. It's typically a 6-day course. Okay, I said all that to say, once upon a time, I charged $2,000 a day. One of my good friends now, who I met through Goldratt's efforts, he was, in fact, he still, as far as I know, is in Myrtle Beach. I haven't talked to him in a couple weeks. But I was on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and I got a call and says, hey, how far away is Myrtle Beach? And I said, well, as the crow flies or if I have to drive up there? It's about 3 hours if you have to drive up there from Hilton Head, because you got to go inland and then up and then back out to the coast. Anyhow, so I was charging $2,000 a day, and that was even before I was a Jonah. Today I charge $6,000 a day. But it's not an Earth day. It's not a 24-hour day, okay? It's $6,000 because there's some amount of legwork I have to do. We have to interact. And so if you said, hey, I'm in Columbus, Ohio, I want you to come down and spend the day with me, take a look at our operations. And I do almost any industry except food and beverage. I've done a little bit of medical, not my strong suit, but manufacturing, marketing, publishing, events. I could go on. So you say, hey, Ski, we need you to come down here and look at what we're doing and what's broken. Help us figure out what we say in the TOC world. What's the one weakest link in my business? What's the one thing, if I fix it, the heavens will open and profits will roll through the cash register? Okay, I'm going to tell you $6,000 plus some T&E, which is going to be minimal because Columbus is roughly 2 hours away from me. You say, hey, I want you to fly into Orlando or Fort Lauderdale or San Antonio, where I had an office. Okay, $6,000 a day plus T&E. Okay, now what happens after you spend that money? Well, a lot of things, but I don't ride off into the sunset typically. We stay in touch for at least 30 days after the fact. So the breadth of my offer is $6,000 a day, and if we work on your problem together, I will guarantee you a 10x return within 90 days. Okay? So what's 10x mean? Basically put a zero on the end. So if you pay me $6,000, I'm going to help you generate over $60,000 in additional revenue and or profit. And the profit gets into a tricky calculation, but so you're gonna say, yes, I got a 10x return on my money. Okay? If you don't, I will give you your money back. It's a 100% money back guarantee. Okay? Because if it doesn't work, I don't want your money. But there are some caveats, like any business contract. And I call it a handshake contract. I write down what we're shaking our hands on so we can refer back to it and not rely on our memory. Is that fair enough? But I said, we're going to figure out some things together. We're going to agree that you're going to do some things. Okay, I don't do these things. Okay, I'm a consultant. For the most part, I'm past my days of doing those things. But we're going to agree on what you're going to do and what your company's going to do and what maybe your employees or subcontractors, or maybe we're going to need to hire people. We're going to agree on that, and you're going to implement it. And if you don't, and then you call me up and say, hey, Ski, it didn't work, I'm going to say, well, tried to tell you. Okay? But if we agree and you execute it to the best of your abilities and it fails, then you get your money back, your $6,000. Okay? Some people say, Ski, well, let's do that, and if it works, then I'll give you the $6,000. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay? You want me to invest in your future and you not be invested in it. Well, that doesn't work. I remember I was working for a company, and it was west of the Mississippi. That's how I measured my life. East or west of the Mississippi. It was west of the Mississippi. Working there, really good pay. It was fair. It was a little lighter than what it should have been, but that's another conversation. But they expected me, and I was on the road a lot for them. They expected me to cover expenses, turn in an expense report, and then they'd reimburse me. And it was like, well, wait a minute, okay? Why is this company, multi-million-dollar company, hundreds of employees, why am I bankrolling your operation? That doesn't make any sense to me. And it came to a head one day. I think I had, I'll just make a number up. Let's say I think we got paid every 2 weeks. Might have been weekly, doesn't matter. Let's say it's weekly to make it the math simple. So I had $300 worth of expenses. I turn them in, they add it to my paycheck, I don't get taxed on it, but, hey, here's your $300 back. Except they didn't. They took $300 out. So now I'm out over a week, $300 of expenses on their behalf, and they took away another $300 of my pay. Okay? That's the day, well, shortly thereafter is when I began taking blood pressure medicine, because that doesn't work for me. So I said all that to say, if we agree that you're going to do some things and you don't do them, I'm off the hook. But if you do everything we agree you're going to do, again, it's an agreement, and if it does not work, I will happily give the 6K back. No questions asked. None. Because I'll know where the wheels came off. Does that sound fair? So why $6,000? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Okay. The late Dr. Ellie Goldratt made a principle very clear. If you worked with him, interacted, needed any of his time or services, you paid a premium. Okay, why was that? Because he was that good. Okay. Now, I've adopted a mantra from Reggie Jackson, who just passed away, I think it was last month. Famous baseball player. He did a commercial, I think it was for a candy bar. And I can remember it like it was yesterday, and this is at least 20 years ago, if not 30 years ago. And he's standing at the plate, and he's got the bat, and he turns and looks into the camera, and he goes, "The only person I have to impress is me." Okay, so what am I trying to say? Okay, I've picked a number that's worth it for me to stop what I'm doing and help you. Goldratt says products, goods, and services should have no bearing, zero relationship to the cost, because cost is a bogus construct. It's like a broken watch. It might be right twice a day by accident. Okay, if your watch breaks at 1 p.m., okay, it's an accident. Okay, so we do not use cost. My cost to go to Columbus for that day might be $100. I'm not going for $100. You say, "Well, I'll give you $200. I'm not going for $200. My price is my price. And today, this is what, the 21st of May, the year 2025. Today, my price is $6,000 to get my attention. Do you want me to go to work on your behalf? That's the number. And we'll solve just about any problem, but we're going to solve the one weakest link first. That's it. I was working for ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation, back somewhere around 1992. And they were implementing Deming's TQM, Total Quality Management. Excuse me just a second. They were implementing it. They trained every employee at ODOT over several weeks. Might have been maybe even a couple months. I don't remember now. It's been a few days ago. And then, once we all get done with the training, then they say, okay, we're going to form teams at your different divisions. I was at division, I think it was 7, over in Sydney, Ohio. And so they formed these different committees, and they say, okay, each committee in Division 7, we might have had 5 teams working on improving quality, making things better for ODOT. Might have been 5 different teams, and we all had a budget. And here's what you learn in that scenario, and where Deming missed it, and he didn't miss it very many times. And maybe our implementation of what he said is off, and that's very probable. But they empowered these people, and they gave us all a budget to work on things. But there is only one weakest link at ODOT, at any one particular division. Okay, and it might only be one that's at the, let's call it a corporate head, at the top of the tree, and all the divisions should be working towards it. Because here's what happened. There's 5 teams, as I recall, at ODOT in Sydney, at that District 7. And if I'm trying to fix, let's say my team has legitimately the weakest link, and we're trying to fix it, and we don't have enough money, it's because they're throwing money away on the other 4 teams. And I made this clear. I did a TV interview, a cable TV interview years ago with one of my good friends and a business partner, Ed McCullough. And I said, look, all that other money's wasted because they're not working on the one weakest link. And Ed says, come on, Ski. He said, it can't be wasted. I go, it is. It's 100% wasted. Because if I need that money to solve the one weakest link, I need the money. And they've wasted it. It's gone. They say, oh, we'll attack the one weakest link maybe next month, maybe next year. You might not be in business. So that's why I say we're not going to use cost as a factor to why I came up with that number. Okay? I believe it's fair. I know people that charge a lot more money. I know people that charge a lot less. Okay, that's the number that works for me. That's the number that impresses me. So, have we covered everything? If not, let me know what you need to know about my cost structure. Bad choice of words. My pricing structure, which has no bearing to cost, and how we together might apply it to your business. Fair enough? Reach out. You have not because you ask not. The best way to get a hold of me, email no longer works. I've had an email address since I think around 1979. Okay, that's a long time. They don't work anymore. I get over 1,000 emails a day. 99% of it is spam. So here's what you're going to do. If you want to follow up with me, you're going to shoot me a text. And you're going to text the word pricing. Let's talk pricing. So if you need help with that, text the word pricing to my mobile. It'll ring right here on my phone. Okay? Which right now is an Apple SE, because it's the last Apple that has a home button. And if when this dies or I need to upgrade it and there's no more Apple phones with a button, I'm going back to Androids. Or maybe by then Elon Musk will have it. But shoot me a text. Pricing to my mobile, 330-992-4754. That's a real number. That's my number. I don't answer phone calls from numbers I don't know. So once you text me with the word pricing, I'll reach back out and I'll say, hey, is this a good time to talk? Who is this? And let's begin the conversation. Then I'll put your number in my address book, and the next time you call me, I'll know. Fair enough? Great. Remember, have a great day.